Hit the ground, the sirens blare. Feel the static in the air. Next gen rising, we don't care about the fear clinging there. Step in line, hear the beat drop. Body, mind, so we don't stop. We won't stop. Train it up, train it high. Next gen reaching for the sky. Push the limit, don't ask why. This is how we're born to fly. March to the future, neon glow. Through the fire we will grow. Every move a deadly flow. Next gen rising, let it show. Eyes ahead, the rhythm calls. Stand up tall, we break the walls. Train it up, train it high. Next gen reaching for the sky. Push the limit, don't ask why. This is how we're born to fly.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Next Gen Training here on the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always, the coach in the building, Trey Ferg. Good to have you guys here tonight on another edition of the show. Make sure as you come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button. Consider becoming a subscriber to the Sparta HQ Network. We're very close to monetization. And, certainly looking forward to being able to offer you bigger and better content, certainly in the near future. But certainly good to be here, as always, with the coach, sir. How are you doing, sir? And as always, we like to check with our pies test. How are you doing in your pies?
Oh, man. What's up, Brother Bennett, man? My pies are interesting, man. Physically, I don't know. I got some adjustments going on with my body. I felt pretty good last week doing those push-ups, so I don't really, I don't feel no soreness. I felt soreness for about 2 or 3 days, so that's wore off, getting the full range of motion back. Intellectually, man, I'm just, the place of calmness, just I've always been inquisitive since, remember we used to do the, we used to have to get a little report, a little weekly news report of current events. I stay with current events a lot. It doesn't matter. I just like to be a part of the current events from around the world. Emotionally, pretty calm, got some good rest in today. The weather's changing. So spiritually, man, I'm connected, to my family and to this space, man,
I hear you. That's what's up. So good deal, man. Good deal. Yeah, physically, I'm getting stronger. Certainly, I had another leg training session yesterday, and so it's coming back. But I had a little nerve in my right leg and whatnot. So just got to do a better job of stretching, especially the lower spine, and just making sure that's good when you squat. The legs felt strong, but I didn't think I didn't crush it. Like when I was feeling that little pinch there, I said, you know what, I better I better lay off a little bit. I probably had a couple more reps in there, but I said, let me put it down. But I just like the fact that I'm really getting back up into the 200s. Like I said, I don't break records on squats anymore. In fact, I do most of my work. I do squats last because I don't want to necessarily put a lot of load on the bar. My legs are already kind of shot from the previous stuff that I did. So, keeping it relatively light and making sure that, I still get, some work in, certainly for the hips and whatnot. So, yeah, it's all coming together, feeling pretty good overall. And, but, intellectually, again, I'm in the throes. In fact, I'm working right now. Like I have my work screens up because as soon as this call is over, I'm going to do a little bit more work tonight and get an early start in the morning. I may have to do a little work over the weekend. So, definitely there's a lot to do, a lot to learn here. So always being challenged there, emotionally pretty good. Although I guess one of the things, Coach, and, you being a father yourself, sometimes you see the little angels and sometimes the little monsters that you raised. And sometimes you worry sometimes about, it's like, man, how did I raise that? You know what I mean? It's like they're wonderful, they're brilliant, but sometimes and again, this could be simply just a matter of age, the fact that we're both in our 50s and where we are now and where we want them to ultimately be. But they got to go through their growing pains also. So you kind of see some of that sometimes in your kids, and sometimes you kind of shake your head a little bit and whatnot, but then you got to tell yourself, be patient. They got to grow too. You were their age once, but I don't know if we were that bad. but sometimes there's some of the entitlement is there, and I guess we kind of grew up with less, so we gave our kids a little bit more than what we had, and so sometimes you sense that entitlement sometimes, and so it's a thing, but overall, pretty good on the emotional side. But I was just contemplating that a little bit. Just before I got on tonight, and then spiritually, for all those reasons, I got to stay prayed up. I got to stay, connected to the Creator, and just while they're away or while they're home or while they in new experiences or whatnot, just make sure that God does a work in them, not only protect them from enemies outside, but also protect them for themselves. And you hope for that spiritual growth and development, that they'll be able to really understand and appreciate how blessed they are, and act with a little bit more humility. But some of them, they kind of smell themselves a little bit right now. So it's just a little thing. But outside of that, though, we're doing pretty good. And again, want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. So again, this is, I think, but now it's going to be in the last few shows we've been dealing with, finances. So again, pods, we pretty much touched on every area pretty much. So again, physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. So again, how you build yourself mentally, how you build
Brother
yourself.
Bennett.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question before we get started?
Oh yeah,
because I'm interested. How old is your youngest daughter?
My youngest is 22.
Okay, so my son is 22, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's I was always wondering, how old is the youngest one, because I thought they was pretty close in age.
Mm-hmm.
And he's as much as I ran my mouth up until graduation and the first year out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him talk, and I've been calling. I'm happy for him because he likes what he's doing. He said, listen, you got to get something, right? And I was like, you figure it out, dude. You figure it. He said, I'm gonna try truck driving. So in the last 3 months, he's moved. He's went to California, Florida, Texas, Louisiana. When I talked to him, he was on his way up towards Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just to hear how he's speaking about the future right now,
yeah,
I told him, I said, see, I don't have to say a lot to you about what life is about and how you take care of it. I say, you own it. I say, I'm gonna protect you now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need any advice about something, you just ask me and I can just give you the advice.
For sure.
I said, because you've already shown me that you have taken the little pieces that I've given to you and built your own. And that's what I'm most proud of. Like, go out here. He's telling me how much money he saved. We got like about $6-7 grand in 2 months in his account. You know what I'm saying? He's doing things, and he does have a good mentor on the road with him. He's already driven 20,000 miles So
Oh wow.
I just wanted to say, man, yeah, man, salute, man. Kids are trying to find their independence, man.
Yeah. I noticed. In fact, my daughter, she just got her first paycheck. My youngest one, she just got her first one today, and but
She liked
so
it.
yeah, I
She was
mean,
excited
look,
about it. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
she's got a travel schedule up, so she'll be traveling to Maryland and different places and whatnot for work, whatnot. So part of her job involves travel, so she'll
okay,
be able to get that in as well, and certainly hitting the ground, running, and like I said, just everything I guess on the uh, the vocational side of things or whatever. Again, can't be happier. Certainly those things are there, but I think certainly as I get older, and I guess with all of these topics that we've been covering on the show, and again, I think a lot of it has to do with where I'm at just age wise, and I just think about what's really important because yeah, I mean having a great career, having a nice body, having good network of friends and networking and things, all those are good, but the person you got to live with is something that you have to ask yourself, do I like myself, like overall, like sort of where I'm at. So I guess these days I think more about that and who they are when they're not surrounded by those things. Those are things that matter to me because I think that certainly who you are on the inside, I think sort of manifests out. You can mask a lot of things, and I see a lot of especially with a lot of young people. A lot of times they'll have the trappings of success and awards and everybody patting them on the back or whatnot, but they still have low self-image and self-esteem issues, and there's a fragility to them that is not always healthy. And the fact that I have the vantage point where I can kind of see all of it, so I see how my kids how they manifest to the outside world, but then I know who they are, and so I'm always these days, like I said, the academic stuff is almost automatic. My daughter, who's in med school, she has her first exam tomorrow morning. And so she's been already getting her study game on and whatnot, and things are clicking, and she's kind of getting into that game mode. But again, who you are away from all those things. I think I put a lot of a lot of stock into those aspects, that quality of life, that self image and whatnot. So I guess that's why I'm a bit more reflective now about character is important to me and humility is important to me, and those are things that I don't care where you are in life, those are things will always be certainly important. But so I want to acknowledge the chat as well. So Craig Lewis certainly in the house tonight, Lucas in the house tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we have Direct Saul, also hello from PA. Good to have you with us tonight as well. And so certainly appreciate you guys coming in tonight. So that's kind of more so where I'm at with a lot of thought processes now, because like I said, the vocational side is that's working itself out pretty nicely, and but character is always as I get older, character is number one. So
Brother Bennett, I'll say this based off who you are and your wife, right? Character is something you don't have to worry about with your girls. They're going to take everything that you've instilled over the last 20 years. So you're good with that. You're good with that. They will bring the man that if they plan to marry to you, they will bring him. So their character's good. I already know. Because
well, it's interesting even with that because, and I know we're taking a little detour here, but a lot of times they won't bring a lot of guys around me because like, so there's like, there'll be a guy to mess with, but it's like, they understand when they come to dad, it's like
teenagers is different.
There's an expectation, but even with the young adults, when
they get ready to marry, they gonna bring them over.
They gonna bring the right guy there, but because
they know he has to be. They know he has to be prepared for the long haul and not just nothing to mess around with. So salute to you, man.
For sure, yeah. So I hope that I got one almost in the kitty. So hopefully, he'll stick around. So
just take it easy on him, man. Yeah. Just let him know, don't make me come bring these weights over. Bring him over for a workout.
He works out. My man is brolic. No, my man is brolic. I dab him up and whatnot. He's got pop forearms and everything. I mean, my man, he takes care of a lot of those things. He's a fine young man, and so I just hope that my other two can find guys just as suitable and and he's sort of coming into his own. So I have a lot to sort of be thankful for in that regard, and hopefully it'll be like I said, but you just gotta be patient and just allow them to mature. But you kind of see we're at a point where we've seen kind of where how things go when we see where things so we're always mindful of that. But they gotta walk, they gotta take that journey mostly by themselves. They come to us for the OGs for help, but they got to take that journey as well. And I got to, as a father, I have to always remind myself they got to walk this. What I mean? If it was up to mom, that'd be another story. But fathers, we gotta let our kids kind of mature and grow. So, but we talk about finances tonight. So again, this will be the last in the series that we've done on finances. So again, in addition to the pods, we decided to sort of delve into the finances again. As I always preface with the show, we're not financial experts. We certainly recommend to anyone that you should have some sort of financial counselor, financial advisor, somebody who's really good with money and money management and finances and investments. You should definitely have all those things. I think mostly what we're going to be giving tonight is we're going to be giving some tips, again, based on different age groups, and we're not going all the way up or down or whatever. We're not talking about saving at 10 or saving at 80. Some things that we're not going to go through all the ranges, but I think a lot of this as a coach is going to be us sort of talking about where we were. These are ages I think we know very well where we were at these times and the things that we were doing, and so we can kind of validate and add some perspective to some of these brackets that we've talked about, and just kind of share how we've dealt with these at every age. But I think you and I just sharing a platform with you, so I think we have a lot of things in common when it comes to money management and things that we've done by the decades and how those things have served us well over the years. So first point I'll bring up. So where kind of really start. So let's look at those teenage years. So 16, at least in the U.S. Anyway, 16 is where you can kind of file those papers and actually work for a particular company. Now you might be one of those folks. You've been working since you were 12, 13. You were cutting grass or digging, shoveling snow at 12 years old or whatnot. So these are just sort of general ranges as to when you start making money. But legally, in this country anyway, we have child labor laws for a reason. But legally in this country, 16, you get those papers, you get that W-4, and you can work for whether it be the McDonald's or whoever wants to hire at the time. But I know certainly one of the things I'm most proud of is that certainly I as soon as I was able to work, that I got a job. In part because I sort of had to, because my dad didn't have a lot of money, my brother didn't have a lot of money, so we were of the ilk that if we wanted something, we're going to have to work for it. And so so that was instilled. I knew that very early on, and also I instilled that in my daughters, that at 16 is when the money train kind of stopped. And so my wife and I, we were like, look, we will take care of your necessities, but as far as any additional things that you want, you're going to have to start earning those. And it started with certainly getting a job. And then once you got a job, then again, some of these tips here that are covered here for that age bracket. So again, learning about money. And I think, just the fact that they had to go out and earn it, that was a big boon in terms of, helping them to be mindful of money. Craig from the UK, again, appreciate you being here. Definitely. So learning money basics, opening up a savings account. Again, we did all that. So, that was I mean, we had accounts open up earlier because they would get, like, when they were younger, they would get like Christmas money and things like that. So we had always money set aside for them, set clear money goals, understanding credit and earning your own money. So these were things. Mariana, as always, in the building tonight. Appreciate you being here. But these are things that, some basics, but I think it's a good area to get started in. But I think it really starts with the ability to earn your own money. I think that is something that I don't care what the age is or what the time is. I don't even care if you come from money, because I see a lot of folks today where their kids, they got them involved in so many activities and they don't get their first job until they're like 20 years old. And I think there's something lost there when you don't have a You don't teach your kids early about, what it takes, and having a good work ethic, uh, um, early on is important. So, coach, so just your initial thoughts on this age bracket in general, some of the things that you did back in the day. I know we talked about it before, but your thoughts on some of these tips, anything that you would add to take away, or just some from your personal experience, things that you would add to this for someone just 16 years old, or go back to when your son was 16. What are you doing?
Oh, man, just for me, man, I talk about it all the time, man. Age 14, I got me a pair of Clippers. I was making money from that day on. It
14.
was a time between 15 and 19 because I really didn't work a job throughout high school. You know what I'm saying? I played sports, I played basketball and football, and it really wasn't a necessity for me to work, but I did learn how to cut hair. So guys were always, who had to work, they would come to old Coach Ferg for the haircut, $3, $5. And this is age 14. I learned how to cut, and I learned how to shape up real good. You know what I'm saying? Just the skill that I picked up. My dad didn't teach me. When nobody in my family a barber. I just was one of those type of inquisitive kids. I saw it. And what prompted me to get a pair of Clippers, I was trying to get a haircut for an event, and I went to the barber shop, and I waited there for 4 hours before I got in the chair. I said I'd never do it again. Got the pair of Clippers from about, I would say from age 15 till about, I got my first real job at age 19. After once I graduated, I went to college, and my first job was at the state fair. Let me say this. It was a 10-day event. Of course, I was cleaning two bathrooms, 2 or 3 bathrooms. That was my first job. I'm cleaning toilets, brother.
Right. Right.
Cool. I did such a great job that the boss, one of my bathrooms was by the supervisor's office. She came to me before the event was over. She said, listen, you're in college, right? I said, yes, ma'am. When you get out of school next summer, you come and work for me. I'll give you a job. You're going to work a full-time job during the summer, and you can work it while you're at school. Cool. Boom. Those 10 days, I came back next summer. That was my first time actually going to employment. I was working 7:30 to 3:30. My mother used to let me drive her car to work. I cleaned the fairground stadiums. I saw Whitney Houston in concert back when she was just starting out, because this is like 87, 88.
Right.
But I was still cutting hair that whole time. And it was a time between about age 15, I would say up until about age 30, I could make anywhere between $30 and $100 a day just cutting hair on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went into the service, I still cut hair.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really making and I didn't buy a lot of credit cards. I was, what I'm saying, once you learn about credit cards in college, I was like, no, I was past that. I didn't really open a savings account. I liked my money from when I was young. But I always kept my cash. I kept some nice little stash. Maybe I should have put it in the bank, but I didn't trust banks like that. I don't know why. Credit, I didn't really establish a lot of credit because, I was in college. Then once I went to military, I stayed in base. I stayed in the base house, and you don't pay no rent. You ain't got to do none of that. Just pay your cable, maybe your cell phone bill, your car note. Cool. And that's how I sort of kept my money stacked. But then once I got in the service, I got a bank account. Direct. Everything goes straight to the bank. You know what I'm saying? But I was able to have a nice little nest egg in the bank and a nice little cash deal in case I had to do something. And I didn't go out with guys spending a lot of money and paying for everybody. No, I got my little twos and fews. You got yours. And I didn't borrow money from people and all of that. So, and earning my own money outside of my essentials, man, I'm glad that my father and mother sort of gave me that mindset, like, take care of yourself. And shit, it goes back from me cutting grass in the neighborhood, shoveling snow, man.
Yeah.
So I like my own money. I've been liking it. I even got my wife. I said, I'm strict when it comes to things like that. And I do a lot of shopping, Brother Bennett, a lot of shopping. But I just went to Cincinnati last week. From where I am, I travel Indianapolis. Sometimes I go to Chicago, and I might do some shopping.
Mhm.
But but it's not a. Also, I might save up a couple of months. You know what I'm saying? We do little events, little weekends, something. But I got too much stuff, man. I'm trying to give away some stuff I don't need. But again, I think it comes with coming at 16, 19. I think it's a good time, especially today,
Yeah.
to just focusing on that, but having the intentional conversations. And I would wonder how many parents who are much younger are having these conversations with their children about finances and credit and abusiveness of, you know what I'm saying, scams,
Yeah.
because there's a lot more scams out.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. What was your take on now? Did your son, he played sports like in high school?
he played
Did he have
football.
it? He played football, but was
Mhm.
he like always in sports or whatever, or was he around 16? Like when did he get
No,
his
he
first
started
job?
when he was about 8 or 9. He's played throughout from 8
Right.
till he
But what
graduated high school.
okay, but when did he get his first job though?
Oh, he's got his first job at like 15, 16. Soon he was able
Yeah,
to work.
yeah,
He been
yeah.
working. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? He been
and
working.
I think that's big because, like I said,
Mhm.
I see a lot of parents, especially those who are a bit more affluent,
Mhm.
um, and they'll have their kids in a lot of activities
Mhm.
throughout high school. So
Mhm.
travel baseball, travel basketball, or whatever,
Mhm.
and they never develop a lot of those skills because, again, their
Yeah.
parents basically paid the dime.
Water. Yeah.
Now some of these parents, can be a little bit delusional, thinking that their kid's going to be getting a D1 scholarship somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think you can realize, especially these days, you can tell by freshman, sophomore that if they gonna be that or not. I mean,
You can
it's like
tell.
these recruiters are getting kids at 13, 14 years old to commit to
Yeah.
schools now. So
With,
you be
with
getting
13, 14, brother Bennett, that's middle school. You can tell by
I
7,
know, but
8
I'm just saying,
grade.
but you got
Yeah.
these recruiters and scouts, they see you balling like that. You got guys looking to put have these guys sign commitment letters at those young ages and whatnot. So, but for a lot of parents, it's just like, it's just something to say, oh, well, I just want to keep my kid out of trouble and that sort of thing. And so I just want to keep them busy. But to me, if you want to keep your kids busy, again, let them get a job. And we stopped giving our kids allowances when they got jobs. It's like, what are you talking about
Mhm.
allowance? You want an allowance? Go get a job if you want money. I mean, I think those are such essential things. So again, unless you truly know and believe, and you've been told that, look, your kid has potential at the next level, baseball scholarship here, there, whatever. It's like, okay, you're going to be in part of that small minority. We've done shows, certainly even on our sports show, talking about the small percentages of kids who get scholarships to
Mhm.
play even Division III sports, let alone
Mhm.
D1. But
Mhm.
I mean, even Division III, it's a small smattering of people. So you think having your kids and all these different activities and whatnot is going to help them in the long run? I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, especially now, it's getting a lot more competitive out there, and so you have a lot of these other ethnic groups don't have their kids in sports all the time. They're in math club, or they in some kind of thing, or they're doing something educationally. And if you don't have your kids focus on that, or like at the very least develop again a work ethic to learn about money, I think those are things that really, for 16 and 19-year-old, unless your kid is that special. But I've seen kids, it's like, they'll have their daughters in dance, and they tour the country and dance and whatnot, but there's not a lot of dance scholarships. You think your kid's going to dance at Juilliard or something? I mean, it's not a lot out there, and even the career itself, there's not a lot going on. So again, a lot of what we're saying tonight, again, we're not talking about the exceptional people. You might have an exceptional kid, and so you got to use wisdom there. But most of what we're talking about is for the general population, and for that population, there's nothing that certainly would teach them more about work ethic than having them get a job that and then they can start learning about financial responsibilities and what they need to be talking about. Teach them about saving, teach about giving. I mean, if you're a religious person, if you believe in giving to charity or your church or whatever, I mean, start those things early if you want your kids to sort of embrace that as a habit and lifestyle early rather than later. So I would definitely emphasize that. So let's move on to the next group. So let's say you're in your 20s. What are some of the things that you're doing? So again, a lot of life events. You're graduating from college. You may be, marry your college sweetheart or whatever, or your mid-20s, think about getting married and whatnot. So again, there's some different criteria that's in your 20s. Build an emergency fund. I mean, and again, all these ages here, you can start a lot of stuff at any age. Even as a teenager, you could have an emergency fund. But again, having an emergency fund, start budgeting, learning how to budget your money, begin investments early. If your job has an ability for you to invest, or you want to take the bull by the horns, learn about finances and do that. Avoid high interest debt, especially high interest credit cards, and establish again good credit. I mean, in your 20s, I mean, you can start early. I remember when I was in college, college, you can get a credit card up to like a $500 limit. That's why I got my first credit card. I was like a sophomore, junior in college when I got my first credit card for $500 limit. But again, it teaches you how to use it. And again, as I said on the last show, credit, or even getting credit, establishing a good credit history, that's going to be vital to a lot of things that you want to do. If you want to get a home or a car or whatever, people are looking at your financial history, and a lot of that involves credit. If you treat credit as a tool to improve your situation financially and not get wrapped up in just spending that credit, then I think it's a powerful tool to use in terms of allowing you to acquire and get more things, especially later on in life. But Coach, your thoughts on these here? Anything that you would, from your experience in your 20s, and anything that you would either add or add to this list here?
Yeah, man. Again, man, these lists, man, are spot on, man. But it's interesting when I think about my own life, especially in my 20s. I was in the military for most of from 22 to 20. What was that? 29. Yeah. So
yeah, for sure.
I was in the military, and I've always been sort of a budget type of guy, because it goes back when I was and this is what changed my life one time. I was like 14, 15, right? And my mother saw how I was with money. You know what I'm saying? She was like, boy, you don't never ask for no money. I said, Mom, I make my own little money. Yeah. So that year before school, she gave me $200, Brother Ben. She said, here, go get your own school clothes. Because she knew I liked them all. I don't know why, she knew it. And I would go down to the city mall downtown, about 2 miles away. Most of the time I walked, because I knew all the shortcuts. And I would buy me 3 or 4 or 5 outfits, man. Buy me some lunch, come back, have $2 or $3 left. And she always used to ask, let me see what you got. She like, ooh, you did good. She ain't never had no complaints. And that started it for me, just being allowed that independence. And then my father was old school. He'd been writing checks since I can remember. So, he talked to me a little bit about starting just writing checks, you know what I'm saying? And how checks, most of the time they pay on a delay system. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So they got to go through the system.
You can't just say, okay, I wrote the check and then spend money. You got to wait 3 or 4 days after writing, especially the big check. Wait 3 or 4 days before you make any additional purchases.
And that's what made me stay away from checks, though. When I saw it, he told me so. I said, no, I did. And then it was right in the prime when debit cards became a real big thing. So what I'm saying? So I said, I got my debit card. I can keep track of it. And investing is something that I didn't hear a lot about. That's something that you're looking back, like that's something I wish I would have known about. But I found out later, and I told my son, we were having these conversations with him, investing in something, a little startup, something where he throw $20, $25 in there and just forget it. So we talked about some insurances for himself and stuff. So he's looking forward to just really tapping into that. High interest, that again, I didn't do a lot of credit cards. I didn't start getting into credit cards and stuff till I got married. Mm-hmm. But then we still don't have a lot. We got them to take care of something, but then it's paid off. So it's really not good credit. Yeah, I like good credit. You pay on time. You purchase something, like I think you mentioned last week. If you purchase something and you have the money, just go ahead and go home, pay it. Avoid the interest.
Credit card as cash.
Mm-hmm.
So again, as soon as you purchase something, I mean, if your card gives you, all these cards now, they have like cash back, 1% or 2%, certain amount of points on purchases or whatnot. If you use your card at cash, think about how much you spend in groceries every month,
Mhm.
or gas or whatever. You add all that up, at the, most gas cards give you like 4%. So again, you spending hundreds of dollars a month on gas over the course of a year, you get a couple $100 back in free money based on just you buying gas with your car. But again, making sure that you pay it off as soon as you buy. Like I said, a lot of times if I buy gas from my wife's car, I'll be like, look, I just got $50 worth of gas. She'll go to her app and she'll just pay it right then and there. So again, there's no interest, but we got the points. And so that is definitely something that, again, using your card as cash or using credit as cash can certainly help you get more down the line, as well as helping to improve your credit rating. And so,
Mhm.
again, those are things that you definitely want to start up in your you definitely want to start up in your 20s. And then if there's like one thing I would add to this, I would definitely say consider getting some life insurance. Now, again, a lot of people, when they say like life insurance, are like having that conversation. But when you're in your 20s, that is the prime time to get it, because you're going to be the healthiest at that
Yes.
point. You're going to get the cheapest rate. Now, it's up to you if you want to get. Now, they got all kinds of. And again, I'm not a planner, but they have all kinds of instruments. They got the whole life policy,
Yeah.
and they got the term life. Get the term life. You're going to
Mhm.
get the lowest rate. You lock that rate in for like 20 years, 25 years. And
Cash out.
you're not gonna, and because again, anything can happen at any time. But especially if you get married or if you have a young family in your 20s, then your family's going to be protected and for a lower cost. When you get into our ages, trying to get insurance at our ages, even though we healthy individuals, it's going to be all they look at is the chart. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
he 57, he 56 or whatever. Oh, you're going to be locked into this. So I don't know how many. I don't care. It's a coach. You can do 100 push-ups, man. Sure.
Yeah,
They're not
nah,
gonna
man.
lower your rate, no matter how many push-ups you
Not
do.
at all, brother.
So I'm just saying, when you're young, definitely lock in a life insurance policy that covers you, your family, and whatnot. You can get a very high rate at a low cost, and it's just peace of mind. But you don't have to worry about your family's long term. So if you got young kids and whatnot, those are just things in case something happens. And I can't tell you how many folks who die too soon, and then people don't have life insurance. They scrambling, they getting the collection plate out, say, look, we need money, we don't have money to bury our mom or whatever. And they don't. And now what I'm hearing now is that people in their 20s. Now, again, I'm not endorsing it. I just heard about it, but you got people like in their 20s and 30s getting life insurance policies for their parents
Mhm.
and locking in that rate, because again, you don't want to get caught with the bill, especially now the cost of burials and whatnot and is really going up. So you don't want to be caught out there left unprotected. So I even hear folks taking out on their parents to make sure that that they're covered. But life insurance in your 20s, that can be a very nice and secure way to make sure you have, again, some additional peace of mind when it comes to that. But coach, when you're in the military, I mean, I'm sure they provide like some sort of life insurance policy or something like that, or term, or
Yes. When
yeah.
you're in the military, yes, you're fully covered, guaranteed. And as far as the monetary amount, used to be greater than the little set military salary based thing, you would also have to take out some cheaper. They had the Champ insurance that people can get. They even offered to myself and my wife with veterans. I get little bulletins all the time saying join here for 25, 50,000, $100,000
Yeah.
at a rate. But yeah, so I don't see us really taking on another debt for insurance, because our insurance has been set for quite a while and it's pretty good. Something happened to me, then my wife, she can just go off into the wind and just be who she is. If something happened to her, then you might see me in my RV van pulling up outside your house for 2 days when you're on the weekend, and I'm next thing you know, I'm back on the road, man. So everything will pretty much be taken care of, man. And this is real quick. I was talking to my son about it, you know what I'm saying? Because I said, maybe 22, you're going to get your insurance. 20 years to pay out, man. You have it for a family, a house, get your
Yeah.
own truck. You know what I'm saying? And you
Yeah.
still young. So yeah, I recommend that for anybody. Even a startup, like a startup company. If you got $15, $20, you find 3 or 4 startup companies and just forget about it. And that's it. You ain't got to invest no more. $5 for each one. Couple of them hit. You done bought $5 worth of stock, and those stock might pay out at $100,000, $200,000
Yeah.
in 5 or 10 years. So we've done that, and I was surprised. Like, I'm gonna do this often. So if I find I start up stock, I'm gonna go and put $20 in, and to count that $20 up with me just giving it away to somebody in need.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And don't always think about investing like, oh, guys get jobs to get 401ks to your jobs. I mean, look around. Like I said, what Coach is saying about the penny stocks that you can get involved in, or even consider taking on, your own finances when it comes to that. So again, don't just lock yourself in. If you can get a little money, maybe get a little property or something like that. I mean, that's certainly something to do as well. Especially if you get married, you get a nice little chunk of change at the wedding or whatever. Then that might be something worth considering to put down on there as well. So definitely a good strategy. But yeah, but 20s, that's like really where I guess a lot of the fun can start. But once you get up there a little bit, you get into your 30s. Where is it? It's coming.
It's up, Brother Bennett. It's up.
Is it mine? Is kind of spinning a little bit, so I'm still waiting. It's still got the 30s. I don't know why it's waiting like that. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
So again, your 30s. Okay, so now you're starting to get a little bit more. But again, some of the suggestions here. Again, if you can start these in your 20s, then by all means do so. If you can buy a home in your 20s, then I see no reason not to do that. Protecting your family. Talk about insurance again. You can start that in your 20s. Maximize retirement savings, diversify investments, review insurance coverage regularly. Again, I would start that maybe a little bit later, but obviously, your 30s, you got some kids, you got, you start to acquire. I think 30s is a little tough because you start to acquire more. Like, you might in your 20s, you might have your little apartment, little condo or whatever. You think when you get to 30s, you need a bigger house because you obviously got, 2 or 3 kids right now, so you need a big home. In these days, gosh, I couldn't imagine buying a home today. I mean, the cost of when I bought my home, it was in the 300s. You know what I mean? So now it's like they're getting up there close to 7 figures for homes right now. So I can't see how, certainly for a young person in their 20s, to be able to afford that is certainly a challenge. You got to be in a very good position. But even in your 30s now, just the way homeowners are, you may need 2 incomes in order to do that, to gainfully employ people to pull this off. But nevertheless, though, yeah, definitely home ownership is certainly something people start thinking about in their 30s, if not earlier, and just those different instruments to really secure. You think in your career now, you're doing well. You start.
Man, Brother Bennett, you froze up, man. So hopefully he'll come back. Yeah, so you see in your 30s, man, you can start considering home ownership. And even with home ownership, it doesn't have to be the best home in the world, right? Just make sure the foundation is solid, like the electricity, the plumbing, there's no cracks in the walls, no mold, the important stuff like that. Then you can start making it look pretty. And one of the best things about home ownership is the more you pay into that home, the more equity you build. That equity can be pulled, especially when you reach up, after couple of years, you've been paying your mortgage on time. You might have 5 to 10, 15, $20,000 equity built up in the home that you can pull out. So even if you was to sell the home, you would get the equity before. It takes about a month or so to process, but yeah, if you're not behind on your mortgage and you don't keep refinancing, you believe you have a good financial rate, then, I would recommend, especially if you can find a little 2 or 3 bedroom, that's all you need. Maybe a basement, find some good trustworthy people. Like every year you just do a room Some of that stuff you can save money doing it yourself. Just make sure every crack is, sealed. Um, and you take care of the foundation first, work from outside in. And then I think you have a solid home in out years to come. People, you don't worry about people. Don't worry about people making fun. Don't let nobody come and spend the night. Make sure you lock all your windows, put new windows in. Make sure the roof is solid. Yeah, the roof, the windows. Um, Brother David, can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you and I can see you. Mr. Paul
What
better
happened to
let me
Brother
know
Bennett?
there's a power outage in this area.
Okay, well, we good there, man. I'm just gonna go through, man. Hopefully you can just go through. Yeah, protect your family in your 30s. That's part of that financial planning, man. Setting insurance policies, maybe some investments, some long term, some stocks, some bonds. I don't know, stocks. Yeah, that's a little worrying. People don't forget that when you just because it paid don't mean you got to pull your money, but you can pull some, but they do tax it, so you better know how much you pull because it does have to go on your W-2s. And retirement savings, just put away 30-40% if you can. You don't have to always spend the money that you have extra. You can just put it away a couple of months, pull something every 6 months or every other, after you get your taxes. Diversify investments. Yep, that's part of that. Some stocks, not stocks, I'm gonna stop saying stocks, but some bonds, insurance policies. All of those things are investments. Small business ventures, maybe a couple $100 into a small business. You'll get paid. It may not be, thousands of dollars every month, but a couple of $100 a month after one investment over time that just pay off. Great deal. So yeah, especially and listen, let's just say you single. This is a great opportunity to maximize all your resources. If people are saying they don't want to be married and you want to live together but not under the covenant of a marriage, you better sit down and have these conversations with the person you meet. Are they thinking about the future? Are they thinking about investment in the entire family, not just in themselves? Those things have to be considered. Buying a home. Can anybody come and stay? The location of the home, the taxes of the home, all those things are important. So yeah, man, 30 years old, and that's what, and it said 30s so you got 10 years to figure it out.
Can I ask a
Brother
question?
Dave, go ahead.
Because as I'm listening to you guys concerning the 20s and 30s, I'm wondering if it's safe to say that financial education is highly critical during the time right now, because I think what is not being mentioned or should have been mentioned is that whenever anyone in the 20 and 30 got into the workforce, the first thing to ask themselves, what do they fully understand by financial freedom? What does that mean to them? They should ask themselves the question, what do they know about money? Because I think that it's something among the black community that we don't have that level of education to finance. You know what I'm saying is? All the things are great points. I have watched the 20s and the 30s, most of them looking to travel, have fun, have vacation, but they never think about the end cost of things. Because home ownership that is going crazy. Brooklyn, New York is out of control for what it is. That I can say right now. So it didn't make no sense whatsoever. Now, what I'm seeing what's going on in Brooklyn, New York, people not trying to get an apartment, looking for a roommate now, where they find an apartment for 3 or 4 people just to cut their costs. Because it seems the apartment rate is getting out of hand. They're not thinking
But
about home ownership no more, but they're looking for a way to divert their money. So they're learning now, which is mostly in their 30, late 20s, they're now learning that, okay, you need to figure out how the way to make their money work for them instead of just working for the money. If I'm incorrect. Am I right, Mr. Bennett? Because you're from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and the cost of living is just forcing people to rethink their money strategy. You
Oh,
know,
for sure, for sure. And sorry for that, guys, going out. I had a lightning strike, took me out, so for a minute, so everything came out. Um, but yeah, I mean, certainly. But what I would hope, and again, I know this is a long shot, Davis, a couple of years, but I would hope this would get young people thinking more about relationships and marriage in particular. Because I mean, yeah, you can certainly get roommates and whatnot, and I know some of my daughter's friends have done that, but that doesn't necessarily work out. So my thing is being able to combine resources, almost like it's become a necessity now that you need two incomes, especially in our area, to do anything major. So again, you can get $1,000 a month. It's not going to get you a whole lot around here, but you can mind 2,000 a month, and you might be able to do something, if not save for that house. So again, combining your resources, getting this. So again, the nice thing about your 30s, you should be by this time pretty well established in your career. I mean, anybody who's still languishing about what to do with their career path in their 30s, I mean, that's sad. But unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of that now, in part because, again, people are pushing off responsibility. Like I said, when Coach and I were 18, 19, 20, we were already doing adult things. And you got people over 25 years old today that still are not adulting or holding off wanting to adult. So here it is, like you're 30 years old, you still don't know what you want, what you don't want, what you want with your life at this point. So I would definitely think that, certainly coupling is certainly a decent incentive for, especially if you want to buy a house and have property and assets and try to grow some wealth. I mean, I think those would be some benefits
can I can I say
to
this?
wanting to do that.
I'm glad you brought that one up because this is a very critical issue that a lot of people in their 30s or late 20s that are going through that day. It could be a byproduct of poor parenting, whereby parents are not teaching the value of money. I remember a particular content creator or a particular panelist, Taru. He mentioned to how he teaches young daughters
Mhm.
about finance, teaches young daughters about stock. Not so many parents willing to take the time out and say, "Let me teach my kids money about
But,
them getting the money before they get out of the house." But
Yeah.
Brother David, and I don't want to, I don't want to harp on this, right? You're in the prime of everything we're talking about. You're in the prime of that. You have teenagers. You're in the prime of that. You have access to sort of have them circumvent the issues that you're talking about.
and I do my best every time I get a chance to. But I'm
Uh,
saying, when I'm referring to what Mr. Ben talking about, they are young adult now who have no knowledge about money. They could get a job and make good money, but he and I both seen it. When the money come in before the weekend, the money is gone, and we both seen it before at our job. Oh, can you lend me a couple of hundred? I'll pay back on payday, and you like, what's going on here? There's a lack of finance knowledge. Yeah, I can do this with my kid. I can constantly get on them about it. But what we are seeing as a collective is it's kind of like, I'm not saying we cannot do it. What I'm referring to is learning from you guys. How can we tell the next generation beside my household or what to look for, how to go about it? That's what I'm pointing out.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is share information. I mean, even just like with this very platform that we're offering, we share advices. All right, but even like I said, and I got daughters too, and again, that's always something. Even in my household, like I said, the thing I'm most proud about is making sure that they at least they had a work ethic at a young age. But saving or whatnot, I got one who's on it and one who's just getting started, and she looks like she's pretty good with money too. I got another one though. That's another story. So a lot of it is also again leading them to water, but they're going to have to learn how to drink it. They're going to have to drink at some point in time. So all we can do is share information, and hopefully they can look at us as an example of where we've been able to set up and situate ourselves at our ages or whatnot. That'd be something that they can model after. But all you can do is just give the advices. But what they do with that's up to them. That's the hard part as a parent of letting go. And like I said, even as I led the show with, being patient with them in terms of just where their mind is sometimes. I mean, they got a lot of things down. I can't be more prouder than I am of them in terms of, their vocational. But some of the other things are still is like a work in progress. And so you're always trying to, be patient with that, give them knowledge when they ask for it. But then they're going to have to learn how to fall and understand consequences at the same time. So again, for anything that we're sharing tonight, again, it's definitely it's a take it or leave it approach. But again, when you're in your 30s, if not earlier, I think that as early as you can consider buying at least, if not buying your own home, buying property, the earliest you can start that, the better.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking by 30s, I'm just saying, but generally how it goes for most people, if you're not married, you're with somebody, you're talking about sharing life with someone at a certain time, it's time to pool assets together. It's time to start thinking about really that period of your life if you're raising a family. So again, owning a home is certainly something worth considering. So those are things that should definitely be at first of mind in your 30s versus your 20s when you just try to build just the resource. Sometimes just save up, because again, down payment 20% in this area, you're talking $100,000 these easily. So you may spend the bulk of your 20s trying to save $100,000 trying to get the down payment to get a house in the Northeast area or West Coast or some of these other areas where stuff is. So again, I understand it takes time in your 20s to do that, but again, the habits you develop then will hopefully help you once you get to your 30s, when you want to start establishing some roots in the ground, some foundations in the ground, and really start to create the environment that's best for raising the next generation. If you didn't start that in your 20s, then certainly by your 30s, especially for women, since you have a biological clock to consider, this is the time when you would definitely want to again establish some roots and foundation, and certainly home ownership is certainly one of the ways that you can do that. So certainly
I will step down. I appreciate it. Let me step down because I'm waiting for you to come back up.
Appreciate it. Thanks for filling in. Thanks for filling in. But Coach, any other points here on things to do in your 30s?
Hey, Brother Benny, man, while you was out, man, I just went down the list, man, gave my, perspective on each one, man, and things to do, man. I spoke, like you said, that home ownership, man, builds equity over time, man, and that can be extra cash for major projects on the house. Do one room a year, man. But yeah, and as far as diversity, I think people, I don't know if people invest in bonds and things like that as much as they used to, but those things seem to always hold some value. I was reading up on some, I forgot the name, where some yield high interest returns early. Mm-hmm. Some do it later. So you just got to do your research, when it comes to that.
Exactly. All right, so now we're going to move into your 40s. So again, here you got teenagers now, or those who are starting to prepare for college. So again, the idea of plan educational costs. Again, that's something whenever you start your family, that's probably a good time to start thinking about that. If you want to think about like a traditional 429 savings plan or something like that in your 20s or whatever, whenever you have your kids, if you can start considering that, because again, cost of education again through the roof. But at the same time, I think we're at a point now, again, us being Gen Xers, we had a greater appreciation for the college route. But I think at this point, I think a lot of people are starting to reconsider this. What type of education are you talking about? To go and get a liberal arts degree and have 6 figures in debt may not be the way to go. So again, the trades, your son is doing trucking. There's a lot of other ways and avenues that people getting education that's not necessarily through traditional college means, online courses and different certifications that you can get. So again, this is an area that you don't just think, okay, my kid has to go to a school out of state, $50,000 a year. Really, this is a conversation that you have to have with your kids about, okay, what do they want? What kind of goals? do they want. But my kids, I tell you this, my kids were not going to go to college for basket weaving or communications or liberal arts or art history and those sort of things, at least not on my dime anyway. Now, if you get scholarship, you go do anything you want. But when it comes to that, I mean, ROI is something that you got to say college is essential for certain disciplines, but for others, it is not. And so again, those are conversations that you have to have. You know, start them early as you can, but in your 40s, these things start to consider. I mean, the girl in the picture, she might be 12, 13 years old. You turn around, she's studying for SATs. And those are things that you have to start thinking about. So again, accelerating your retirement contributions, plan educational costs, reducing debt aggressively. I mean, we've been in that for some time now. Assess an investment portfolio, perform annual health checkups annually. Again, we talked about that, the frequency, you know, with the things, habits that you do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. Again, this falls right in line of things you should do. You should be meeting with your financial planner, whatnot, and reassessing kind of where you are. Are you on track? Do you need to uptick some things, or you might need to take out some money? If you've been doing pretty well investment wise, you may need to cash out some of your investment to pay for some of the college tuitions or whatnot, or whatever it is that you need to that you need to do. So again, think about, you know, those sort of things. So those are things that happen for, you know, for couples, again, in their 40s. And I think this is really where you need to, you know, really start to be able to see sort of the 10,000 foot view, like, you know, what my future is going to be looking like. And also for those who are coming behind me, am I prepared for, you know, the costs that they're going to incur as they certainly pursue higher education or other educational means. So Coach, your thoughts on these, anything you would change or add to this?
Man, you know, when you were speaking about the educational costs, you know, I used that was big on me, especially working in education, working in the schools and planning for scholarships and filling out applications for scholarships and, you know, looking at college costs around the country. I used to have to go through a book initially when I first got introduced to it. It had every college and university within the United States and Puerto Rico, right? So I was always big on, you know, reducing costs. And my son, he wanted to go to, what was it? It's a school downtown Chicago. It costs a lot of money.
Mm.
I was like, man, listen, you want to play football? Because this is me talking. I said, listen, you want to play football? Go to Joliet Junior College, because Biden was giving 2 years of college for free. I said, go to Joliet Junior College. It's not too far from your house. You can play football because they have a great football program for a junior college, right? Mm-hmm. I said, you're going to get all your tax money, all the refund checks. You're going to get all that. I said, you're going to get a nice little help. He wanted to go to this school. I guess he was following some girl. I'm like, man, that's cost too much. You don't qualify for that. I said, I'm not going to put my head on the line for $14,000 a semester.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not. I said, you know how much that is for 8 semesters? I said, so cancel that. But he okay, you'll figure it out. I ain't signed nothing on it. He realized quick, like, you know what? Yeah, you messed up. So now let's get on track to do something else.
Right.
But I do think, you know, like this outside of trucking, you don't get any other skilled trade unless you pay for it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I also push the military. And it's not just because every military branch teaches you how to do, you know, protect the weapon, fire a weapon. They all do that. They all give you that calisthenic, getting the best shape. You do everything they give on the commercial. You ain't get the half of it unless you in there. You learn how to low crawl. You know how to climb over obstacle courses 50 feet in the air. Right. You know how to do all that straight from basic training, right? But what it does, even with the skilled trades, because I went in as a cook. I cooked six months, my whole first term, right? 3 years, right? Because I went to Saudi Arabia as soon as I got out of basic training, AIT, boom. Came back to Fort Hood. I cooked for like 6 months. Then I started doing the supply runs as a cook. So now I'm going and getting all the grocery supplies Used to go to a warehouse the size of 2 Walmarts. Boom. Then I reclassed after I re-enlisted. So they gave me a list of jobs, maybe 35 different choices I could have made, right?
Right.
So I said, let me do carpentry. Cool. Taught me how to be a carpenter. And as a carpenter, we work with the plumbers, the electricians, right? So we all together. So we learning off of each other. So when I got out of the military 4 years later, I had skill knowledge in all three.
Right.
But my skill was only classified under construction. See, I couldn't go be a professional plumber, even though I knew how to plumber. I could go be a professional carpenter.
Right.
And that's how it plays out. But I think that's a good sort of avenue I think young men should really look into, because not everybody goes to war. I went to Saudi Arabia, I've been carrying my weapon. And they teach you, they're aggressive about teaching you how debt reduction. They give you classes where you learn about, you know what I'm saying, broadening your horizon about money management and things like that.
Right.
So by the time I left that, then I was pretty keen, like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. And I used to have cash. Maybe I was wrong, but I've always, before I, you know what I'm saying, I remember my wife, I've always had a couple thousand in cash.
Yeah.
And enough money in the bank to take care of things. And if I had to make an emergency something, I could do something. You know what I'm saying? But that cash was just in case I have to get up and move quickly, like a major disaster, something. And I'm just, so yeah, man, 40 years old. I think a lot of people are struggling right now at 40. They don't have that foundation of financial, at least understanding. They claim they do, but I don't know if they really do, because it takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. All right. So moving to our age bracket now. So getting into the 50s. So again, a little grayer, a little less hair at this point. But again, catching up on your retirement contributions, create a detailed retirement plan, protect your wealth, update your estate plans, which nobody likes to do, prioritize debt-free retirement. Absolutely. I mean, that's certainly, of course, my wife and I, we've been slashing debt left, right, and center, and then, you know, definitely wanted to free up our resources so we can pour more into, again, retirement contributions and everything else. So that's been a big thing for us. But again, certainly when you're raising kids, especially, you know, you may see an increase in your debts and whatnot go up during that time. But now it's the time you can start paying that stuff off. And certainly, you know, this is a time where people really start thinking about retirement. Now, again, I'm not thinking about retirement anytime soon. I'll say that right now. I mean, I'm not, you know, that's not on my radar at this point. I know Coach is already retired, but yeah, I may work until they throw me out. I just love having getting up and have something to do every day. So, you know, so retirement is not on my future radar. But nevertheless, though, you know, certainly thinking about retirement savings or whatnot, those are definitely things that are, you know, that my wife and I are taking a lot more seriously at this point. I talked about insurance earlier, so I did get another insurance policy. Again, usually you get that term initially, it runs out, you know, once you get to around 50 years old, your term is going to run out. So you may have to re-up. And obviously I'm paying a lot more for a lot less coverage, but nevertheless, it's still there, you know. So, and at this point, I don't worry so much about my kids in terms of their, you know, them being taken care of, since they're grown women now. But, you know, certainly make sure my wife is you know, taken care of and whatnot, that she don't have to spend money to bury me with and things of that nature. You know, those are things that you want. But, you know, certainly, again, when you have a family on the come up, is probably when you're going to want your most coverage when it comes to life insurance or whatnot. But certainly as you get older, you may have to start thinking about these things. Again, estate planning, death planning. Do you have a will at this point? You know, those are things that, again, those conversations you don't want to have, but you need to start thinking about it. And you know, even with your kids, you know, in terms of contingency plans, who takes care of mom and dad if they ever become disabled or whatever. That conversation, I don't think either all my daughters are ready for at this point. Maybe my oldest may have that. The other two, I don't know if they're built for that yet. But these are things you got to be, mindful of. Once you get into your 50s, you still feel great most of the time. We exercise. We make sure that that we're functioning, and at the same time, and in your 50s, a lot of times you're at your like I'm at near or pretty much my maximum like career earnings. At this point, I mean, I'm sort of in that. I know Kevin Samuels, you talk about 45 to 55 is when most people hit their financial stride as far as top of the income, and I'm kind of there. And so, so again, in addition to those additional funds that we're earning, we also have to think about, how do you start to, land the plane, so to speak, start thinking more about retirement, increasing your contributions and whatnot. If you haven't been diligent on that, because again, you were raising kids and whatnot, and braces was $20,000, and all kinds of things came up, and now you got to make up if you borrowed against some of your investments to make those decisions. Then now you're gonna start catching up on those things. So Coach, anything on these? I mean, obviously, so we're kind of here, and again, you're in a different life space than I am at this point. I'm still, gainfully employed, and you're still, enjoying your retirement and whatnot. But any other things that you would consider, for a 50-year-old who, again, maybe you started a little bit late when it came to getting things together. Now you want to learn. I think one thing for sure, no one's too old to learn or to make a change or whatever if they want to, start seeing some improvements. For a 50-year-old who up to this point never really prioritized this, what would you say to them about things they can start doing in their 50s as far as, financial tips?
Oh man, shoot. Same thing you can do at any age, man. First of all, get you a budget planner, a budget sheet, and start with all your expenses and all your income, all your residuals. Write everything down. The amount you pay out versus the amount you bring in. Look at I think you mentioned it a couple of hours ago, start with your small bills first, get them out the way.
Yes.
Again, if you've at least been working consistently over that time. See, that's that catch. A lot of people seem to think that you can play no work games well into your 30s. Unfortunately, you can't do that, because at 50, your body starts to change. You start wearing glasses now. You didn't wear glasses before. And I think a lot of people take it for granted. But again, let's just say somebody who's at a point where they're ready to change. You have to learn the basics. You have to be disciplined. You have to really be consistent in how much you contribute to your investments. Write things down, right? Start thinking about even the property that you own. Think about your children, how you're just going to separate things, who's going to handle what. Just be more conscious of those things. Get a planner book, not a planner book, but I don't know, Mr. Bennett, what's some little, like a bookie book or something? Remember old little, back in the old gangster days, they have the little ledger. Yeah, get you a little ledger book and just write it down as they come to your head, and protecting your wealth. That's something, you have to look at again with the insurance policies. And that's where the wheels are big, write down the wheels of trustworthy people. At least they seem to be trustworthy. They haven't let you down so far. Not somebody who just starts showing up like 2 years ago because they know you got a little money. Correct. Not the one that's always asking for a couple hundred here every so often, seem like they do it at the wrong time. But yeah, not that person. The person that you've seen has been working and being consistent and taking care of things. Yeah, and no major debt. I guess at some age, I feel like now that I bought enough stuff. I got enough clothes and, stuff, little trinkets that add no value. I have enough. We have 3 vehicles, and a 22, a 23, and an 18 that been paid off. That's a truck, but I love it so much. I'm like, I was going to get a new truck, but that's the only thing I would get. I would get another pickup truck, and I would get rid of a car if I needed to. I think by the time my wife retires at 60, we're going to get rid of one of our cars and just have 2. It's just going to be a nice size pickup, and we'll have to flip a coin on whose car we have to give up, hers or mine. But as long as I got the truck, a nice pickup, 4-door pickup, crew cab, I was looking at the 2,500. That'll be suffice. That'll take me out. I'm gonna drive that till I can't drive no more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this is where we got one more here, and I added this one at the end because again we're kind of in the middle of this now, but I didn't want to leave the 60s guys out. So again, I'm going to go one more level here because there were some things here that definitely already started to think about. Again, consider lowering your cost of living. So again, you might have the big house. Though again, I've always thought that if my daughters, if they wanted to just buy the house from us, keep the house in the fan, because again, you're not going to find a house out there, at least in that area. You're talking, high 6 to low 7s in this area. It's a nice size house if you guys want to live, but they're their mindsets are elsewhere. So they're thinking, I want to live in Florida. I want to live. Yeah, I want my own spot and my own, come up and that sort of thing. So that's just something that one of the things I wish they would be a bit more, think more financially. But again, they're such an age now, they want to stretch their wings and be, independence. But independence is costly, and when there's assets and whatnot. I mean, this is how a lot of other families and other ethnic groups, a lot of times they get ahead because they keep the wealth in the families. And I've met people just over the years when I was working in the South. There were so many people I met who the homes that they live in was the homes their parents lived in, and the home that the grandparents lived in, and they didn't have a lot of money, but they had that house, and they make it work still. And so even though they don't seem to have as much, but it's about, again, how much you're spending out also. And if you're going to put that much money into a home when you got generational type of situation you can have. And there's one lady, she's got like 6 acres on a house that her parents or grandparents owned. I'm like, you can't be mad at that. I mean, it may not be the nicest looking house or whatever, have all the amenities. You can do a little work on it to kind of get it up to grade, but still, it's still a fraction of if you're just going to go out and just buy something. Even down there, property values and whatnot is still, the cost of housing is certainly going up. So definitely doing that. Look at relocating to a tax-friendly state. I know a lot of people go to Florida. A lot of people, I know my sister, she retired to Nevada. That's also a tax free state. The only thing is that weather, though, is no joke. In the summertime, 110 in the summertime. So I don't know, Florida, they got every time I go, because I fly into Jacksonville every week, and every time I left Jacksonville, either going out of Jacksonville or coming back, I always got caught up some thunderstorm every single time. So my thing is, I don't know, they say sunny Florida, but you get that rain every day and the hurricanes and everything else. So I don't know if I would ever move to Vegas or Florida, but if I had a choice, though, I still may choose Vegas or Nevada if I was going to retire somewhere. I know some people, Arizona out here is pretty nice as well, but again, that heat, I don't know. But what are your thoughts? And so also delay collecting Social Security benefits. I know technically you could go to 62. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Social Security is a big topic people talk about. They talk about pushing the retirement age to 70 and all those sort of things. So I don't know what's going to happen to that. I don't know if that's something for especially for the young people that we might be talking to here. Are you going to be able to rely on that in the future? We're not sure. Make sure your investments or anything that you're doing in your 20s and 30s, that's why even more so why you need to maybe take some things into your own control, because that may not be something that you may be able to rely in the future, at least the way prior generations did. So, any thoughts on that? I think the big takeaway for me is definitely lowering your costs, downsizing, and like I said, with the kids being grown, it's nice to have the big house, especially when you have Thanksgiving and, all the big holidays and stuff. But, sometimes I think about, I just want to get that RV and just live out of that and drive across the country sometimes. But your thoughts on that, Coach?
Man, it's interesting, right? This is where we are now.
This is
my wife is 3 years younger than me, so this is where we are now. And she's thinking about her cutoff day is 60. Right. She wants to retire at 60, and she's right on track. Again, Lowering cost of living. Yeah, she was on the phone today negotiating a deal with, with insurance. And I think, saying I saw that she was at first when I met her, she was one of them just take care of it. I'm like, no, you do have some leverage, especially when you looking to spend your money. So she's in there like she's in the war room trying to say, hey, I need the best deal I can get.
Right.
Locating to a tax-friendly state, yeah. That's why I said some states, being married, you can file married separate. That plays a big dividend, especially if there's two incomes and there's children. One can get the benefit of the child, the other can get the tax refund. Also, it doesn't tax both incomes. When you do both, they'll tax one at like 18%, something like that, real high.
Right.
A lot of people end up owing, but again, Florida's one of those tax-friendly states. Illinois is a tax-friendly state. Even Indiana is a tax-friendly, especially if you're a veteran. That's what I like about, being a veteran. You can look at the states and at 70% disabled veteran in Illinois pays no property tax.
Oh, wow.
And they get reductions on their car registration. It's free. The car registration is free on up to 2 vehicles, and you get a free transportation pass so you can travel. And they have a major transportation just like New York.
Mm-hmm.
So it's free as a veteran. So that's why I like, and I've been taking advantage. Like now I can go to Fort Knox, get on base. My wife has access to things. It's real friendly, states like that. I would take advantage of any veteran. In the senior discounts, man, everything I do is a discount. Everything. I'm military senior I'm not a senior yet, so I don't really worry about senior discounts.
Right, but you're AARP eligible, so
I am eligible. I haven't really signed up for it because the military and AARP discounts are about the same.
Right.
Because everywhere I go, I ask for a discount everywhere, and they give it to me too. 10%, 15%, 5%. Adidas used to give 30%. Now they're down to 15%. But everywhere I go, every time I go shopping, I always ask, except Walmart, places like that, Target, you don't get a discount. But they do have special days, though. So that's what I like. Any senior, man, you're in your 60s, get your discounts. Save that little money because money is tight. And it's interesting about the retirement age and getting Social Security, right? Anytime before 60, I think even on us they raised it to 67. So if you retire anytime, not retire, but I guess if you retire, if you collect Social Security, that's what it is. Right. It's locked in at like 1,700, and it never increases.
Right.
So you have to wait till 65, but 67 or 70, man, you might not see number 2 checks coming out of that retirement, man. That's Social Security. So if you can invest now, set yourself up for the next 20 years. So when you get to this age, you won't just have to rely on Social Security.
For sure. Absolutely.
Debt.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I must admit that, certain senior advantages I could get now, but it just don't feel right. I'm fighting it. Being an AARP member, I think I said one time on the show, we went to a concert. I guess an 80s concert. So you had the Spinners, Force MDs, and the Spinners were there and whatnot. And our age bracket is like that 50 and up. So we saw a lot of people there in the wheel buggies and the Kings and whatnot. It's like we're not here. Yes, there's music we grew up on, 80s music and whatnot, but we're not. We don't look like a lot of the people who were there. But this is our age bracket, and so a lot of it is that reality that we are in this space, and so I do need to start thinking more about that. But I just remember when we were at the show, my wife looking at each other, we probably fitted in 95% of people in this room. just looking at who was there, you know what I mean? So But yeah, but even you might be feeling good and whatnot, you just don't know what happened. I got my annual physical coming up in October, so God willing, everything will be good, and numbers wise. But time catches up to all of us, and so all I try to do is just sort of slow it down. But yeah, I mean, I need to get into an age now, but I may want to start embracing some of those senior benefits and things I'm eligible for in my 50s, and then when I turn 60. Things that my wife and I can enjoy. So yeah, I got to swallow that one also. That's a pride thing with me. But like I said, I wasn't trying to grow up too fast. I'm trying to enjoy right where I'm at. But certain things you need to be mindful of. But this was a good show. Appreciate everyone coming in tonight. Thank you. San Jose Made. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for the compliment on the show.
Absolutely.
Coming in. And really appreciate the support that we're giving here. So yeah, so make sure any of the content that we have on the show, we certainly encourage everybody share it. If you find a topic on physical health, on etiquette, on finances or whatnot, anything that you may think that can help someone who's younger or someone just looking for some advices. Again, we're not experts. We just sort of share our experiences, but please feel free to share the content with anybody who can benefit from it. I think that's really one of the main reasons why I like doing the show. And certainly with Coach, I think we're of the same mind. If we can still help people, we want to do so. And so, share the content with people. Make sure you hit the like button, certainly before you leave tonight. But Coach, I'll give you the last word. And with that, we can close out the show.
No, man, listen, man, we're going to keep on grinding, man, keep pushing the information, man. Listen, again, man, we just two bald dudes, man, just giving our opinion on important topics that hopefully somebody can take something from, man, apply bits and pieces to your own life, man. See how it work out, man. You can come and share to us what the outcome was, man. Just, we've been talking on various topics, man. Go check out some of my previous lives, man, and come back and share some of your thoughts about our conversations, man. I think it can benefit pretty much everyone from young and the old, man. But again, salute, man. Just Brother Bennett, email me, man. Let me know what what's going through your head for upcoming weeks, man. Just certain little things I can start putting together and get it to you. But yeah, man, salute, man. Appreciate you, Brother David, man, hanging out. Peter, man, I hope you're somewhere safe, relaxing, man. But man, good show,
that new
man.
schedule is killing. I think he said he's getting used to it, but certainly, certainly him being able to, I guess get off a little bit earlier or whatnot. But I know he has an early get up time. So
real quick, Brother Bennett. Yeah, they done delayed the game, so you should be.
I saw that. I saw the light. Yeah, I saw the lightning and whatnot. Yeah. And like I said, I got taken out, so I think I got a spike here. Took me out, so they just kind of chilling, but pretty wild game so far. I mean, the game started off guy that the coin toss spitting at Dak Prescott and whatnot getting ejected.
I missed that.
You missed, yeah. The main guy for the main top defender for Philly, they had center field. I guess they're doing a coin toss or whatever, doing other stuff. Him and Dak is Johnny spits right in Dak's face in front of the referee. Dang. Gets ejected at the start of the game before the game even starts.
Man, I missed all that.
Yeah, go back and watch that. We have to talk about it on the one-on-one sports show. Man,
he might get fined. He might get fined.
Yeah, but it's been a great game. It was like 21-20 at the half and whatnot. So again, definitely back and forth, and certainly a good game. Hopefully we'll be able to finish it off. Hopefully these storms don't last too long, but I'm just glad football season's back, and certainly looking forward to the slew of games over the weekend. You can hop over to the Black Men Unfiltered Network on Wednesday nights. Coach and I are on the one-on-one sports show where we talk about everything in the world of sports. So certainly this will be something that we'll bring up. And but again, continue to follow content on the Sparta HQ Network. I know don't have the schedule in front of me, but I know for the Gray Area show that we do here Sunday nights at 8:30 p.m. That's going to be our open line show. So again, you guys can call into the show and certainly chat with us. And any topics that we talked about prior, or anything that you want to talk about, you can certainly talk to me and Pete. And certainly we'd love to have you. So again, this coming Sunday, 8:30 one-on-one sports show, and certainly looking forward to that. But with that, again, we appreciate you guys being here tonight. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Until next time, for the coach, myself, Mr. Bennett, you guys take care God bless, and we'll see you next time. Good night.